Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Consim Game Jam results live stream. I'm Fred Sarval, the co-founder of the Consim Game Jam, and I was supposed to have with me Peter Evans, who's not here. So I just want to say he left me on my own. I hope that he'll join. If you see this, Peter, please join the stream. Oh, sorry. I just have a small technical problem once again. I think I did this also the other time around. Just give me a second. Okay, and sorry about that. I did exactly the same thing as I did the other time around. I see that there is already a lot of people in the chat. Sorry for the small technical issue. I had a bit of a delay. So yeah, you have to wait a bit more for having the results. I want to thank everyone for having participated in the event. It was really great. But before sharing the results, we wanted to do a bit of a debrief of the event and talk about how it went. So first of all, I would like to say that we were impressed by having 12 in competition submission at the end of the event, 12 really impressive submission and one out of competition submission that was also quite interesting, but wasn't into the process for personal reasons from the participants. So we had quite a lot of interesting topics. And so for those of you who didn't watch the Consim Game Jam live stream or didn't participate, the topic of this year's Consim Game Jam was to make a card-driven card game. So the limitation was to make a CDG in the classical sense and maybe play around this idea. And the limitations for the participants was that they could only use 54 cards and 54 components, which is actually quite challenging. That being said, we had, I think, around as many participants as the other time around 50 of you participated. Some of you gave up along the way, but it's normal and it can be pretty challenging to make a game in 72 hours. So we do expect this, but overall it was really great. And I see that Joe Dewhurst is suggesting that he could be the co-host. And I would say, Joe, yes, you could be. I don't have the opportunity to send you the link, but if someone who's in the loop of the email can send the link to Joe Dewhurst, I would be happy to have him being participant with me and being the co-host. That would be completely fine. But yeah, so a few things that I would like to share with you before we talk about the results is some of the feedbacks that we got from you from the survey that we sent to the participants. And I won't spend too much time on it because I know you all want to know who are the finalists and who's the winner in the end. But I thought it would be nice to actually talk about some of the feedback that you have. So I'm only going to look at one metric, and we asked the question, if you were to come back next year, would you come back? And the answer was pretty positive because 96% of you said yes and only 4% said maybe. So I think that it said a lot about how much you enjoyed the event. And we really appreciated a lot of the really positive feedback that we had in the survey that we sent out. So I would like to say thank you for being such a great group. It was extremely fun to see you all work on this, and the energy was really great. So that was awesome. And I just want to do a quick stop on one specific feedback that we got that made me tear a bit. I was really happy because this is why I want this event to exist. And that's what a feedback from one of the participants that's saying that in the end, participating in this design competition has given them the confidence to view themselves as a designer, which is definitely what we want at the end of the session. We want to see games that wouldn't have existed if the game jam wasn't there. And we want to see people design games and engage in game design that didn't think that they could do that. And I think that once again, it happened and we're really happy that it did. And we're really excited that you all had fun. So that's it for just the quick overview from an organizer standpoint. But now I want to talk about the finalists. And yes, Rachel, if you can send the link to Joe Dewhurst, I would love that. Please, thank you. And so from the participants' point of view, I'm going to bring in our three wonderful jury to talk about the finalists. And we're going to start with Candice, Mark, and Jason. Thanks to the three of you for being here. And Jason, I think it might be you. I think you have a lot of background noise. I'm I'm not sure if you can
I'll
do
mute.
if you can do something about it. But I would say thanks to the three of you for being here this evening. But overall, thanks for taking part in this competition. I know that it required quite a lot of work from your side to review all of the submissions, to play the three finalist games. And it was quite awesome working with you on this. So I want to thank you again for making the time and being such a cool jury. I would like to start maybe by asking each of you, what did you felt about the event overall? And we can start with you, Candice.
Sure. I thought it was awesome. I was really impressed by all of the submissions. It was incredibly hard for us to pick finalists for this. Everybody did like a really tremendous job in terms of picking historical themes that are very unique and more rare. And also, I think everyone did a really good job of just kind of making sure the mechanisms worked with the historical topic and the theme and the setting. And there were just some very creative ideas of what you could do with 54 cards and 54 components. So I think everything was just very exciting to me. I would like to see all of these games finished at some point. So that's my thought. Great job, everybody. And thanks, Fred, for letting me participate. It's been a blast.
It was great to have you, and I'm happy that you had so much fun trying those different submissions. And I would say it's the same for me. I would like to see those because in 72 hours you cannot do a final game, and I would like to see most of those games. Got me really excited, and I would like the teams to keep working on it to come to an actual either a PNP or potentially a published design. I'm not sure, but I think they deserve probably even more work because they are exciting submissions. Mark, what did you feel about the competition?
Well, I overall, I mean, there were 12 very solid submissions, as good as any I saw when I was at Victory, when I used to do this all the time. And I was, it was just interesting for me to see how people mixed and matched some mechanics that either were original or were impressions of other mechanics in other games. And yeah, I was, but I was particularly taken with the fact that there was probably half of them. I mean, I knew pretty much nothing about the topic other than, a one-liner you might get out of a history book. So it was also educational for me. So I enjoyed that too.
Great, thanks, Mark. And we have Jean de Saucis who joined us. So thanks, Joe, for being my co-host, security co-host. So thanks for that. But before, I would like to ask you, Jason, what did you think about the submissions?
So this is probably the fifth or sixth kind of design competition that I've been involved with the jury on, and I have to say that I thought that even in competitions that had a longer time frame than this one had, this had some of the most polished, nearly finished games that I've had a chance to look over. And I personally work extraordinarily slowly, so I am baffled by the capacity of people, even in a collaborative setting, because most of the designs I've done have also been collaborative, to get this much work done so quickly. And I was blown away by the breadth and interesting topics that were covered, and then how well those topics ended up being executed.
There is a comment that I think we need to pick up, Jason, is that someone just realized that Iceland is excluded from the Twilight Struggle map. And is there a reason for that?
I've been saving it for an Iceland expansion.
Makes sense. Very smart. Smooth move. Great. But thanks to all of you for this context. I think we can go back to the presentation and announce who the finalists are. So we're going to go through three finalists. They are not ranked in any order, and I would like each of you to maybe say a small word about why you thought it was such a strong submission. And the first finalist is Peace 1905. the end of the Russo-Japanese War. Super exciting game that is about the outcome of the 1905 Russo-Japanese War and the peace negotiation between those two countries, and the US involvement in actually facilitating the talks. Why did you, Candice, thought that was such a strong submission?
I thought this was great. Well, I already covered that everybody had a really unique historical topic, so that was really strong. But this one did a really great job of integrating the theme with the mechanisms. And I loved that for such an accessible game that's kind of like easy to learn, quick to play, that there was so much tension, literally too, with managing like you and your opponent having these tension tokens. And the variability from the secret objectives, I thought was really interesting too.
And you, Mark?
Well, first off, long before Candice was born, I did a game on the Russo-Japanese War called Red Sun Rising, and so I was very familiar with this particular topic. Of all of them, this was the one I was most familiar with, and I enjoyed the idea that and Candice has already made mention of it, the tension tiles. In other words, that as every decision had a sort of a plus and a minus to it. In other words, you could gain something, but there was always a cost. And I think that that's an important part of any game design, is that there aren't any free lunch kind of decisions. If it's going to be a free lunch decision, you should bury it in the design. But if you're going to, so I always felt that every play, every decision had a consequence that was both positive and negative, and I think that was where I thought the game really shined in particular.
And for you, Jason?
So for the first, 50 years or so of the hobby, we had a ton of games about how wars begin and proceed, but almost no games about how they come to an end. And so in no small part, thanks to Marx, Versailles, and Churchill, we're starting to see conflict simulations about how we go about resolving wars. And as Candice said, I think this is a very accessible, very clever one that builds on some of the work that's already been done in this area, but shows a pathway forward for more designs like this.
Great. So that was finalist number 1. Now we're going to go into finalist number 2. And finalist number 2 is Candy Crush. So it's a 2-player game, once again, that uses 5 cards to actually make the map of the island of modern-day Sri Lanka, and depicts the different waves of colonization on that island, and how the Candy Kingdom and other minor kingdoms are trying to fight them off. Also a very interesting design on a very unique topic, and an interesting way to use the cards to actually create a map and have this tracker. So that was, I think, one of the one that I was also very impressed by. Why did you think it was a good candidate to be a finalist, Candice?
I think I really liked that the integration of the minor kingdoms in there as a neutral faction, and some of the card play choices from, when you play a card, sometimes different minor kingdom cubes will spawn on the map, and it'll kind of mess with your majorities in places. But sometimes you might want to play that card. So I thought like a lot of the decisions from the card play were interesting. And I really also liked the colonial powers, how it shifts which nation you're representing each epic of each turn of the game. So I thought that was really cool. And the fact that the colonial powers player could play 2 matching cards to form a treaty with some of the minor kingdoms and have them count as their influence. So just a lot of like interesting choices with the card play and the events. And of course, the historical topic was just super unknown to me. So.
And for you, Mark?
Well, I would say that although he's not here, Richard Berg would have made this a finalist just based on the title. I mean, it was coming up with a clever title is not all that simple. And anyway, I really enjoyed this game. I think the thing I don't want to say, I agree with everything Candice said, and I'm also agreeing with Jason. So I'm going to try to say something different. So I agree with what Candice said, and I would add on to what Candice said. I like the legacy like it's very much like a history of the world, Vinci kind of thing, where each epic, the colonial power that was there prior to, like in Epic 1, it's the Portuguese, and it's the Dutch, and it's the British. And I like the fact that in the second epic, when the Dutch are coming, the Dutch have to deal with the legacy part of the Portuguese. So it's not only are they dealing with Candy, they're dealing with the minor powers, but they also have to deal with the Portuguese. And then and that then gets even more complicated when the British come, and you might even have some legacy Portuguese still left while you deal with the Dutch and all the above. So I thought the game really had some very interesting dynamics in that way. And so that was an element that I particularly liked. I'll leave some other stuff for Jason to say.
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think what I have come to really like in gaming is small games that pack a larger punch. They kind of punch above their weight. And Candy Crush is an excellent example of that. You really get the sense that you're playing a full-blown CDG, even though you're playing on a 5-space map with a few cubes, because it's just cleverly designed that way. So I was super impressed.
Great. And we have a new participant. So actually, the fact that Peter is not here makes it so that this stream gets more and more occupied by more people. So we have Corey, who's always also an organizer. Thanks, Corey, for being here.
I had no idea what I'm doing here. I had nothing to do with organizing this event at all.
Yeah, Joe is here for moral support, and Corey is here as another organizer. But Joe is always here for moral support, so that's fair. And the final finalist, if that's is even of sentence, finalist number 3 is At the Court of the Great King. So that's our third finalist for this event. Candice, what did you think about this one?
I thought this was another, I think this one had a very unique feeling to it, and also the theme was very unique and interesting. I like that you are kind of balancing, influencing the different courtiers, but you're also managing the kingdom's resources and not trying to push anything over the limit, while also managing different crises that are coming up, and you have to kind of take care of all these things. So I thought it had a very unique feel to it, and I thought the topic was really unique too.
Great. And you, Mark, what did you think?
Well, dealing with most games have a. This game most reminded me of a game called Republic of Rome. It has that kind of Republic of Rome feel, which was always one of my favorite games growing up as a kid. And in this one, for those who are not familiar, you're dealing, as Candice has already said, you're dealing with this internal struggle. But while you're dealing with this internal struggle, you're dealing with these exterior crises pop up, and then how those get resolved. You might have the game, both players lose the game. The court of Antiochus the third, I guess it is, collapses. On the other hand, you have these opportunities to give out offices and then move those offices and even assassinate some of the courtiers and bring in another one. So it really had a lot of interesting elements and captured sort of internal court intrigue in a way that I hadn't seen in a game before.
And finally, you, Jason, any thoughts about At the Court of the Great King?
Yeah, I again find myself echoing my friends and colleagues up there, but I have thought that Republic of Rome needed updating and streamlining for a very long time. It's kind of been a nagging ambition in the back of my own head. So I was very glad to see someone modernize that game, make it more accessible, and in this case provided a different context with Greek successor states instead of Romans. But the vibe is very much the same.
Great. But now that we have actually Joe Dewhurst and Corey, maybe, so those were the 3 finalists, but maybe I should say that out of those 3, we had to choose among, I think the contest was 7 were potential finalists out of the 12. So it was a really, really hard decisions for the 3 of you to come to an agreement on what should be the 3 games that were picked. So I just want to remind participants that like most of them came really close to being finalists. So it was an extremely contested 3 spots, and it shouldn't be. It should be said that I think most of those games just deserve to exist, and I would love if you keep on working on it. And I was thinking that maybe not to put the jury on the spot, but maybe put the participants. If each of you could say which one of, if there was a game for you, Corey, that wasn't in the 3 finalists, but that actually got your attention, which one would it be?
Oh, that's hard, man. I think I like the what was it? The War Pop and Grognards, right? That's the Hellraisers in Kanawha County. Anything about mine revolts is just super interesting to me. A lot of my family history is kind of locked up in that, so just seeing someone do a game on that, super fascinating.
And you, Joe?
Well, I was going to mention the same one, of course, and I have tried that one actually, and we've given some feedback, I think, and I'd love to see that idea develop further. I think I've been working on some industrial action games myself, and I think there's some really fascinating ideas that they've explored there. But to mention a different one, there's another one on the Spanish Civil War, which I haven't tried yet, but also uses some cards to kind of create a little simple geographical map, and that's another kind of area of history I'm particularly interested in and would love to see more designs on. So I'm keen to see that one further developed too.
Yeah, Today the Struggle, it was called. And also, yeah, I thought it was a super interesting design. And the thing that I thought was interesting is that it was showing the Spanish Civil War, but not in a conflict between Republicans and fascists, but focusing on the internal factionalism of the Republican side. I thought that was a really interesting way to see the Spanish Civil War, and a really interesting point of focus. I think the one that I really enjoy, and for me it was hard to I hope they will keep on working on it. It was Al-Mansour's Gambit, The Fall of the Songhai. I think it was a really interesting game. The way they used the geography was quite interesting, and the asymmetry between the two factions was very, very cool. So yeah, there were quite a few really good candidates. But before we announce the winner, because we don't know what the winner is, well, it's time to give the floor to Gene Billingsley, the head of GMT, who is the sponsor, who makes this event possible by supporting us. So thanks again, Gene, for supporting the event this year again. And yeah, I thought it would be great to maybe have a few words from you to see, because I know you followed only from a distance the event, and you've probably seen a bit more now, and you talked with some of the jury, and I was thinking, what were your thoughts about all this?
Well, first, Fred, thank you for allowing me to be part of this production, and it's something we're really happy to support every time you do one, and yes, that's a future endorsement, so you can count that. I think what you're doing here, it reflects what we do at GMT. You know, we put a high value on collaboration, on team members working together to build things. So you have guys people that you put in a 72-hour window, quite a pressure cooker, and they come out with a game that's maybe not publishable yet, but certainly finished. And you know, the world is full of starters, but there aren't very many people who can finish. So the very act of the participants finishing their designs here is really impressive. And so I want to thank you, Fred, for letting me be part of this, but I want to congratulate all the participants as well, because you've created something that's really good. You know, we believe in collaboration and teamwork, but I think the thing that really drives me in the gaming hobby, both for GMT and in just broader hobby interest, is the impact of curiosity. I love that Dorothy Parker quote, you know, that the cure for boredom is curiosity, and there is no cure for curiosity. I think that's really at the heart of what I enjoy in working with designers, having them think about, well, what if, you know, I just read this book. I wonder if I could turn this book into a game. Nowadays, the last 15 years, we see a lot of people who haven't been published designers who are really interested in game mechanics. And that kind of happened back in the 70s and 80s too. And some of the great designers like Mark Herman came out of that period where players were obsessed with mechanics and they began to create games that amalgamated mechanics and made them better. I think we're in another period like that. And what you're doing, Fred, and others like you, is creating a forum for people who love to do that, to go and actually create a game. So I'm just thrilled to be part of it, that we at GMT can be part of it. And I wish you guys all the best to do a lot of these in the future. And I hope the participants, whether you did this just for your own satisfaction or if you're trying to think about finishing a game down the road to get published, I wish you all the best. Thanks, Fred.
Thanks a lot, Gene. That was very nice to hear from you. I really appreciate it. Also the support and the kind words for the participants. I hope it will motivate most of them to keep on working on this. And noted that for the ongoing GMT support, I guess we'll do Consim Game Jam number 3 in 2023. And we'll make the prices even bigger this time. No, but that was great. But I think now it's time probably to announce the winner. And it's funny because the more of us there is, the smaller our small boxes on the side become. I wonder if new people are going to come in. And the winner is Peace 1905, The End of the Russo-Japanese War. So I think that was a very impressive design. Really, really cool game. So congrats to the participants for that submission, and maybe for you, Candice, what made this game the winner in your eyes?
I think it's it's definitely the how they captured the negotiation through card play. You know, each player has an identical hand of these position cards, and then you have a couple issue cards and secret objectives. And you have to just make sure that you don't push your opponent over the edge with these tension tokens and have them storm out of the room, because then you lose the game. So there's that give and take of what you're playing when you're trying to win, but you're trying to also balance not giving your opponent too many tension tokens. So I thought it was just really well done, very accessible. You know, it packs a lot of game into what I can picture is a small box because of the component limitations. And I enjoy a lot of more political games with that kind of tension to them. So that is what kind of pushed it over the edge for me. But again, everybody crushed it. And I was really impressed with every single submission. It was a very tough competition.
Great. Thanks, Candice. And for you, Mark, apart from the satisfaction that it was heavily inspired by your own design and flattering your ego, what did you like in that submission?
Oh my God! I just want to remind you that someday I will see you in person, and Gene can tell you that may not go so well for you. All that aside, I appreciate the good humor. I think I said it already, but I'll repeat it. I like when a game forces really hard decisions. In other words, every decision in 1905 has a cost. In other words, you can win that issue that's on the table by going very hard on playing a 4 influence card, but you're also giving up tension to your opponent, and if you push your opponent too hard at the table, effectively they walk away and they win the game because you broke the negotiation. So you are the one seen as destroying the possible outcome. That is a thing that is not common in most games. Most games, more is better. If I get more issues, I win. I get more points, I win. I get more, territory, I win. But in this game, you have that delicate balance of, I want to beat you, but if I beat you too badly and humiliate you, then I lose the game. And so I really like that particular element of the game more than any other. But and by the way, and re-echoing everything that Candice also said. I mean, I want to leave something for Jason to say. I think Candice already said most of it. Go ahead, Jason.
and for you, Jason, is there anything else you can add to that?
Yeah, I think that it's always impressive when a game design and incredibly impressive when it's a game design that came about in 72 hours is trying to say something very specific about an historical event, and you're able to receive that lesson through a game. And this 1905 has a very specific point of view about the Russo-Japanese negotiations and the balance of them, and how they should have been, how you would have to go about concluding them successfully. As Mark said, in a lot of games, that would just be win-win-win. And in this game, it really emphasizes the diplomatic necessity of compromise and balance.
Great. But thanks for that overview of the game and why you thought this one was the best. But I have something to say after this. Is there is one last thing that I need to announce, and it's really important. Is that after this game winning the Consim Game Jam, we took a decision with the organizers to have a quick discussion about Maurice Suckling, who's been participating in 2 Consim Game Jam. Last time he was one of the 3 finalists. This time he's behind the submission that was the winning submission of this event. And we're sorry, Maurice, but we decided to ban you from every future participation as a participant. So if you want to take part in Consim Game Jam number 3, you'll have to be part of the organization. I decided that there was one thing that you could potentially do is if you participate with your kids, like David Thompson did for Consim Game Jam number 1. So having that constraint to participate as a dad, but not as a full participant, because it's just not fair. So yeah, we need to nerf Maurice. Maurice is OP. That's not possible. We cannot just. It's not possible. But I would like to congratulate the winners and congratulate the participants. I don't know, Corey, you joined along the way. If there were any last words that you wanted to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate. I only highlighted one game when you were asking me about, which one really stood out to me, but they all stood out to me, right? I am completely blown away by the work that was put in over 72 hours of making games that, are good, right? They have interesting premises. They work mechanically. They're actual realized products, right? Or not products, but actual realized things. And I'm blown away by all the participants and everything that they put into it.
Great. Thanks, Corey, for those wise words for the end of this event. I would like to thank everyone again. So thanks the participant for participating in something so stupid as making an historical game in 72 hours, which is an insane idea. And I wonder why people go through that. And they're usually extremely tired at the end of it. I don't know why they accept. That's really weird. I want to thank the jury because it was, thanks again for your time. I think this event couldn't be as good if it wasn't for you. So thanks to the 3 of you and the organizers, of course, except Peter, who bailed on me, and thanks Joe for being my emotional support person for everything in life. And thanks Gene, and thanks everyone at GMT for supporting this event again this year, and again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. So that's really awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening, and see you next year for Consim Game Jam Edition 3. Bye-bye.
Adios.